Hello there, good evening to you. Welcome to the Prime Time Bulletin here on Joy News on Multi TV. My name is Gifty and Apia. Let's take a quick look at our headlines for today. And we go straight to Parliament. And Parliament passes amendments to talk time tax, but without controversial clauses requiring subscribers to pay additional levy on inbound international calls and emails. New Patriotic Party delivers its verdict on the state of the economy, describing it as being in tatters. Anti-corruption body Ghana Integrity Initiative charges President Mahama to take pragmatic steps to give the police a better public image after the service was cited for the fourth year in a row as the most corrupt. And Students' Loan Trust records impressive recovery rates amongst beneficiaries. Traditional medicine practitioners are out to weed out charlatans, especially those claiming to have the ability to double your money. They say that's not part of their practice. We have sports, showbiz, international news, and some business. Please stay with us. All right, on to the details of those headlines now. The Ghanaian economy is in tatters. That's the verdict of the New Patriotic Party. The country's main opposition delivered its verdict on the state of the economy today, a day after the finance minister assured the country is not broke despite its challenges. The NPP's economic team, led by former Minister of Finance Yao Osafo-Maafo, at the news conference also blamed the huge budget deficit in the first quarter on the decline in both domestic and foreign inflows.
The former finance minister explained Ghana's economy under the NDC government has faced numerous problems, hence the staggering economy.
Indeed, there is a problem, and we should not pretend that there is no problem with the economy. We have a lot of serious concerns about the way the economy is going, and the economy is in tatters, and things are getting worse. Government is no longer in denial. There is now consensus that the economy is in bad shape. This is why it is lamentable that the president is sounding from the rooftop that wherever he has gone to, he's being commended for managing the economy well.
Yao Osafo-Maafo linked the expenditure during the 2012 elections as a major contributor to the country's woes.
The reckless expenditure of the 2012 election year are now catching up with all of us. And every Ghanaian saw how money was used during this last election. Unfortunately, it is the ordinary people who now have to bear the effects of the bad expenditure behavior of the Mahama administration during the 2012 elections. In 2012 alone, the NDC administration illegally overspent their budget by 4.8 billion. With hindsight, the government now realizes that they have misconducted themselves.
He mentioned the Bank of Ghana's Monetary Policy Committee MPC report of 22nd May 2013, where the governor of the Bank of Ghana admitted economic activities have slowed down as confirmation of the mismanagement of the economy. He also cited Ghana's alarming public debt as one of the signs of the bad economic management the country has been subjected to under the NDC.
One of the signs of the bad economic management this country has been subjected to is the alarming rate at which we are accumulating public debt. And indeed, it is also one of the causes of our economic woes. As we have previously pointed out, the Mills Mahama administration inherited, and please listen very carefully, inherited a total public debt of 8 billion. The NDC government insisted that this was caused by profligate expenditure of the Kufuor administration. Now, within 4 years and a half, this debt has escalated to 38.5 billion.
Recounting how the NDC stigmatized the NPP for incurring debt amounting to 1.8 billion Ghana cedis, Yao Osafo-Maafo revealed that in 2012, government arrears had hit 5.4 billion Ghana cedis, of which 4.8 billion Ghana cedis was incurred in 2012 alone. Another sign of the mismanagement of the Ghanaian economy by the NDC government, according to Yao Safo-Mafo, was the spending outside budgeted approvals, which occurred in every year of the NDC's rule. Yao Safo-Mafo revealed how since 2009, the NDC government has consistently overspent the approved budget by 300 million Ghana cedis to 800 million Ghana cedis in 2010, 1.3 billion Ghana cedis in 2011, 4.8 billion Ghana cedis at the end of 2012. He said this has slowed down economic growth and has affected businesses and consumer confidence.
Now, that is the NPP's verdict on the economy, but we're trying to get Dr. Joabe to give us an independent verdict on the state of the economy. But now let's do some corruption issues. The Ghana Integrity Initiative, the local chapter of anti-corruption body Transparency International, is asking President Mahama to improve the run-down image of the police service as far as corruption is concerned. Now, this follows the release of the latest Global Corruption Barometer report, which cites the service as the most corrupt institution, a position they have held onto for the past 4 years. The report, which covers both 2012 and 2013, revealed corruption has worsened in the country over the past 2 years.
The police scored 4.7, leading the pack of 11 other public, private and religious institutions. Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Vitus Azim, explained to Joy News what respondents of the survey perceived to be the corrupt practices of the police service.
Those who had bribed in the past 12 months, and then the question was, why did you have to bribe? And some said that was the only way to get what they wanted. So for example, if the police stop you, the only way they were allowed to go could be that you had to give something. Some said they wanted to speed up things. You go looking for a service, and the only way you can get it is to pay some money.
He indicated existing anti-corruption laws do not effectively tackle issues regarding corruption, such as protection for whistleblowers, and charged the president to institute effective anti-corruption measures and help clean up the public image of the police.
This report that we looked at, one of the questions we asked was, if you did not report an act of corruption, why did you not report? And some of them said, one, they are afraid of the consequences. So how much protection can the whistleblower give to the people? That's an issue. So it's not an issue of bringing more laws and all that, but making sure that what we have in place are enforced. What the prompt investigations into credible allegations of corruption, and if they are found guilty, the necessary action should be taken against them by firing people from their jobs, by recovering monies that are stolen and assets that have been bought by those monies, by prosecuting people and probably sending people to jail, naming and shaming.
He said the 2,000 respondents surveyed in all 10 regions were a fair representation of the populace.
So we think it's a fair representation, especially as we've covered all the 10 regions, and in every region we've covered 2 districts, and covering both urban and rural populations. We think it is a reasonable sample to draw conclusions. Although, of course, it has, like any social research, it has its weaknesses.
Surveys on corruption were conducted in 107 countries, covering 114,000 people.
Meanwhile, the Ghana Police Service has published the 2013 Global Corruption Index, which was released by Transparency International. The Director of Public Affairs, DSP Saif Asata, would not deny there are bad nuts in the service, but said much has been done in weeding out corrupt ones. He spoke on today's big issue here on Joy News.
I must say that is very questionable. Doesn't it fit one's imagination as to why consistently the police is put on top of the corruption index in such surveys? It looks to me as if the only seal that gives authentication to people's or to such reports or to such surveys is to put the police on top of the corruption index. And I mean, sometimes I question the due diligence done in such reports or in such research work. And I am tempted to question the respondent,
right?
To question those who carry out such researches.
What do you think could have been the reason for this? If you done the report.
Well, there has been a perception before, and I think that it is only replicated without any due diligence being done, without any hard work being done. The depth of the investigation is very crucial, and that is what I am questioning as an individual.
That was DSP Cephas Arthur on today's big story. Now, some political parties have expressed dissenting views on the Transparency International Global Corruption 2013 Barometer report, which ranks them as the second most corrupt in the country. While some say the report is subjective, others agreed with the report's findings and are calling for effective anti-corruption policies to curb the trend.
According to the report, 82% of the 2,000 respondents indicated that corruption was a very serious problem, with 54% saying corruption had increased in the past 2 years. Categorizing the most corrupt institutions in the country, political parties ranked second, scoring 4.2 points out of 5.
This survey was conducted just after the elections in December. And so people know what happened when it came to the primaries, how people got elected. People had to spend money to pay delegates or to invite them and camp them and all that. During the campaigns, the gifts people were given, motorcycles, bicycles, telephones, and then money. All these things influence people's minds with regards to corruption. So that's one thing. So those are the reasons why people would probably see that we rank them as most corrupt. But as I said, we did not ask them for the reasons for ranking them as extremely corrupt.
For some political parties, monetization of political activities, the inability of politicians to declare their assets, among others, have created an enabling environment for corruption to thrive.
For what the politician wants to gain by winning the member of parliament seat or by winning the presidency, they do all that is possible under the sun to get the nomination of their parties. So during that exercise, you see a lot of money being spent, and we know the figures, they are huge. All of us should not try and play the ostrich. People spend a lot of money and resources at party primaries, either for president or for parliament. Now, it can also be true to the extent that the people who vote for politicians also look at the lifestyles of these politicians. So if, let's say, before you came into politics, people in your community knew you, they could virtually calculate the extent of your income and the extent of your resources. Now, just 4 years in government, you have a whole mansion, you have a chain of filling stations, your lifestyle has changed, you're looking extraordinarily good, and you're able to spend more than, if you like, your salary, legitimate income can afford. So they see it. So it is true to some extent when they see some of these things going on, to come to the conclusion that perhaps the people are corrupt.
Well, I think there are significant problems that we have to tackle, and I think to try and sweep it under the carpet and create the impression that the problems are not there would not be an entirely honest approach. The important thing is to the political parties to sit down, to come together and make an examination of the extent of the level playing field and see how level it is or not, and see how to craft rules and regulations that not are there just for the sake of being there, but are regulations that bite and matter and change the course of our current trend in the nation's politics. Because we want a situation whereby politicians are seen to be honest and are trusted by the people.
Others, however, argued the idea that political parties are corrupt is a preconceived mentality and must be erased.
What I'm saying is that is their perception, right? But as politicians, we are behaving. We are making sure that we do the right thing. Do you understand it? And that's all. See, we form a different opinion. And I think that it's high time we came out of that fixation, that mentality. You understand? We have genuine politicians. We have people who are doing businesses. Genuine politicians. So you cannot just generalize and say politicians are corrupt.
The Ghana Integrity Initiative is meanwhile asking government and parliament to ensure political party financing is transparent and ensure the assets declaration law is enforced to the letter.
Now let's go to the courts. Now the Supreme Court has dismissed a motion filed by the petitioners to get KPMG to make a unique count of 1,545 pink sheets that were not included in the total of 8,675 sheets certified by the accounting firm. KPMG had excluded this number because they claimed the markings on them were unreadable. But their report also added the court could give further directions on how to proceed with these contentious pink sheets.
The motion was therefore tabled to operationalize the needed direction on day 41 of the hearing of the election petition. In his submission, Philip Addison, counsel for the petitioners, went further to say that in the report there are pink sheets found in the president's set but not in the registrars. He was convinced that if these unique counts are made, it will be clear for all to see the number of polling stations filed by the petitioners, and that will greatly assist the court. He was convinced that if these unique counts are made, it will be clear for all to see the number of polling stations filed by the petitioners, and that will greatly assist the court. The petitioners said the application has been necessitated because these matters, if not addressed, leave the KPMG report incomplete. Philip Addison maintained that the application was meant to tie up loose ends in the report. He noted that what KPMG's action amounted to exclusion of evidence. He also said the respondents cannot suffer any injury as a result of conducting this additional audit by KPMG. Counsel for the EC, James Koshi Aiden, also submitted that the motion was going to delay the case. He reiterated that it was the petitioner's responsibility to prove their case and not to shift the burden of proof on KPMG. Counsel for National Democratic Congress, Chachichi Kata, catalogued the petitioner's opposition to the count when they first applied to the court to order it. He added that they have opposed KPMG's report and are now requesting the referee to help their case. Hearing has been adjourned to Wednesday.
You're still watching the Primetime News here on Joy News. Now, on our discussion board on social media, having heard from both the government and the NPP on the state of the Ghanaian economy, post your verdict on what your assessment of the state of the economy onto our Facebook wall, and we will read it for the rest of the world. I'll take a quick break here. When I return, I have some more news. Please stay. You're welcome back. Now, Parliament today approved and passed the Communications Service Tax Amendment Bill, but without the clauses requiring consumers to pay an additional levy on inbound international calls. The controversial tax on emails received has also been scrapped following concerns raised by the minority.
The House took the bill through the consideration stage, where the clauses that raised eyebrows in the previous report of the Finance Committee were amended and some deleted.
That's why 5% is really that punitive. So I ask, then why don't you make it 50%? If that's all you care about. There must be a reason why
they use the reason they've explained is that they use 5% so that it will be relative to the size of the company, because
Mr. Speaker, the CST itself is 6%, and they are putting 5%. But you should tell us that 5% is punitive because ABCD. Not all of us know the annual turnover.
The purpose of this amendment is to make sure that it corresponds with the act which is being amended, because the act is a Communications Service Tax Act 2008.
After going through all the necessary stages, the House approved of the amended tax and the entire bill.
As amended, ordered to stand part of the bill. As many as in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Clause 1 as amended, order to stand part of the bill.
The minority, despite their concerns being addressed, maintained it will still have an impact on Ghanaians.
Government has come out clearly to say that he's not levying the charge on the users, he's levying it on operators. But the question still remains as to whether the operators will not pass this cost to users. But we all have to live with that and see what happens in the aftermath of the president assenting to the law.
Sitting continues tomorrow.
Passing the cost to users, we're still trying to get the telecommunications chamber representative to speak to on that case. Now, we're still in Parliament now. Some of the members of Parliament have been reacting to the President's statement on the Code of Conduct for Ministers of State and Government Appointees. The code, which was launched yesterday, spells out sanctions, including dismissal of officials who breach it.
It's good because we need to regulate ourselves. If you are given a public office like that, it is good to regulate yourselves with some rules and regulations. Otherwise, there's a lot of waywardness, and then they say power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. If you're not careful, power will eat so much into your head that you forget where you are coming from, and the people you are supposed to serve. That's ordinarily. But let's put it in context, in the Ghanaian context. Look, we are so much intertwined that something that a minister will not want to do, a relative will come from somewhere and something will happen and the person will do it.
And I think it's long overdue, not even ministers and deputies, but even when you go to some MMDCs or MDAs, I think these things must also be emulated over there, because you go to and time of civil servant starting work, time of closing, time of going to lunch, time of leaving the office, all these things must be also be factor, and I think this must be launched nationally so that it's going to be a rule that each and every Ghanaian or a worker or a civil servant must abide by the code of conduct, not only ministers and deputies or ministers of state.
Well, code of conduct, I think, is a joke. Believe me, it's a real joke. Why am I saying that? Because I think that the president, before appointments or appoints ministers and deputy ministers, through extensive research, investigations by national security, and in consultation with the Council of State and all that. One will want to believe that before somebody is appointed as a minister, all the necessary due diligences may have been done on the person. As it were, the ministers also swear an oath before the president. And I think that ministers are aware of their responsibilities, protecting this country and then protecting the peers of this country. Now, I wonder where the president is coming from, in the sense that he was the vice president when the late President Tamils was the president of Ghana. Where was the code of ethics when ministers condoned and connived for judgment debts to be paid to people like Wayomi? Where was he? Wasn't there the code of conduct by then? I mean, sometimes one wonders, is he now going to teach his ministers how to read and write or how to dress? It's a joke.
The Sole Commission on Judgment Debt is continuing with its inquest into inordinate amounts paid out as judgment debt. The Finance Ministry, when it appeared today, was asked to account for some monies paid out as compensation to some individuals. Marian Turi has the rest of the story.
An amount of 47,000 Ghana cedis was released to be used in paying these people, including Philip Agbodoga. But records available to the Commission show that it was only Agbodoga, Philip Agbodoga, who was paid from that 47,000 cedis. As to what happened in respect of the other claimants, there is no record to that effect.
Dometi Kofi Soko says the Finance Ministry is expected to return with details of where the money went.
Chief Director of the Ministry of Finance will be here on the 17th of July to speak to that issue. So until he comes, you wouldn't know what happened to that amount.
Also appearing before the Sole Commission today were the Controller and Accountant General in respect of a 47,000 Ghana cedi payment and the Chief Director of the Ministry of Finance, represented by Major Retired Samuel Tara.
Opinion leaders in the Ahmadiyya Community in the Shama district of the Western region have dismissed recent criticisms about their decision to convert a section of a school into a corn mill. They claim the structure, which was built by community members, had been abandoned for more than 2 years.
One of the community leaders, Suleiman Kobne Suman, said the entire community was outraged about the media report calling into question the conversation of a part of the Ahmadiyya Muslim mission into a corn mill. He explains to Joy News the decision was well informed. He says the ultimatum given by the DCE following the report to stop the use of the structure as a mill therefore came to them as a surprise. He urged the teachers to share the structure with them. Otherwise, he says, they are willing to lease out a parcel of land to the district assembly for the construction of a teacher's quarters.
Teachers' quarters and say, Abans of Bessibia, Yawaland or our chair, Oba, Yadman Wessi.
Having endured for so long the tarnishing of their image by all sorts of persons claiming to possess all sorts of powers, herbal medicine practitioners and the Association of Fetish Priests are on the offensive against charlatans they say are giving them a bad name. The Traditional Medicine Practice Council at a news conference today have warned that all charlatans, especially those claiming to have the power to double money, will be dealt with according to law if found out. Yafo Suajemfi was there and filed this report.
The move forms part of efforts by the Traditional Medicine Practice Council in collaboration with their fetish counterparts to weed out bad nuts and ensure the safety and efficacy of traditional medicine for persons who opt for that. And they quoted the law which regulates their operations, Act 572 of 2000, and which frowns upon such deeds.
If it is true that they can conjure extra powers, where does the money come from? Does it come from a Bank of Ghana or commercial bank or any other bank? The serial number. Is it new serial number that they create in the spiritual world, or is it a duplication of existing serial numbers? In that particular case, we are bordering on the realm of crime, complete crime, that's financial crime. The effect of widespread money doubling, if it is true, on our economy, your guess is as good as mine.
They condemned the money doubling practice and disassociated themselves from it, adding that such persons have fallen out of line.
No such powers exist. There are no powers that are intended or specifically established or created for the purposes of creating money without working for it. Categorically, we wish to deny that we had licensed any person or persons to engage in such practices. The purported money doubling is not only deceptive and fraudulent, it also smacks of magical practices which are not within the remit of the existing and operating statutes.
They also urge the media to be cautious in allowing some of these practitioners to advertise their activities and ask members of the public to report such persons to the police or the council.
Coming up next is You Report. Okay, in today's edition of You Report, information passed on to the public can be done through the use of a poster. But here lies a case where these posters are causing obscenity in our surroundings. Are these right to be done? We live in a contagious where even along roadside and the footbridges and almost every vantage point is covered up with a poster declining the beauty of the surrounding. What is being done by authorities to ensure sanity improvement by confiscating these posters that cause filth in our environment? This might get out of hand if something is not done about it. So keep your videos coming. We'll take them and make a reporter out of you. Up next is Business News.
Joy News Business is brought to you in association.
Welcome to Business News. Now, the Private Enterprise Foundation is kicking against recent moves to increase the taxes paid by businesses and is demanding that government hold of their implementation. The foundation, among others, mentions the talk time tax, special import levy, national fiscal stabilization levy as taxes that have been brought to Parliament under a certificate of urgency without any consultations with the private sector. In a statement issued today, PEF says these new tax hikes will effectively increase the corporate tax rate for businesses and seriously reduce the ability of businesses to raise internally generated income for expansion. The Governing Council of the Federation is said to have concluded after an emergency meeting that though it recognizes that government faces a serious financing gap and therefore needs to raise additional revenue to fund its programs, overtaxing a few select industries is not a sustainable way by government to meet its revenue shortfalls. It says government, as a matter of urgency, should review the various tax exemptions and free zone tax holidays that have been granted over the years, some of which may have expired, to ascertain compliance, relevance and efficacy. It says government should prioritize its expenditure and only undertake projects that are critical for the growth of the economy at this period where its finances are in critical short supply. The Governing Council, the statement concludes, is therefore requesting the government to first hold off implementation of the new tax hikes. Secondly, to immediately convene a dialogue meeting with the leadership of the following groups: government, the leadership of both sides of Parliament, the private sector, 4 top business schools, economic think tanks and TUC to review all options, including of course taxes, to raise government revenues to enable it to execute the projects that can result in business expansion, job creation and growth of the economy. Seven years after the Students' Loan Trust was established to replace the SNIT loan scheme, the first batch of beneficiaries have already finished repaying their loans. Officials tell Joy News the collection rate has been so impressive they collected as much as 2 million Ghana cedis, 600,000 Ghana cedis more than they had hoped to retrieve last year. They add that by the first half of this year, they had already collected nearly half of the 5.5 million Ghana cedis that they were expecting to recover from the second batch of beneficiaries, numbering about 25,000.
Act 106 of the 2005 Trustee Incorporation Act established the Student Loan Trust Fund. The fund was to answer to the SWO Student Loan Insurance Scheme under SNIT, where tertiary students were mandated to provide 3 guarantors and complete other documentation before they could access the government facility to support the education. It was also to answer the problem of abuse where beneficiaries felt they did not have to pay since it was coming from government. The Student Loan Trust Fund also made the process less cumbersome, with beneficiaries having to provide just 1 guarantor to access loans and complete the documentation process online. The new process brought relief to the beneficiaries who, it has been found out, are good borrowers.
31% of what we've collected has come from what we call voluntary or what we term voluntary repayments. These are people who are not even due. Indeed, this year, this academic year, all the money that we collected last year and what we are collecting this year, we are turning around and giving it to other students too, because, our releases from GIFT Fund has been rather, slow this academic year.
Officials tell Joy News the strategies they put in place to ensure prompt repayments are paying off. An amount of 2.7 million Ghana cedis has already been retrieved as of June this year.
The Student Loan Trust Fund Act of 2011, and our act gives employers an obligation to inquire from employees or new appointments, whether they took loans from the Student Loan Trust, and to deduct at source. And so they have an obligation. And when we identify you in our system as due to repay your loans, we simply submit your Social Security number to SNIT. And SNIT will tell us if you've started work and if an employer is paying contributions on your behalf.
The fund has so far supported 53,000 beneficiaries, including students from 38 private institutions. Officials add that they even know how to retrieve monies from dead and incapacitated beneficiaries.
So we put in place this protection where 0.5% of the loan that is given to every student is pooled. And therefore, if your loan is 800 cedis, 0.5% is 4 cedis. You'll pay 4 cedis for a year. At the end of 4 years, you'd have paid 16 cedis. And if anything happened to you, that 16 cedis takes care of 3,200 cedis.
The trust is confident the new scheme, which has come to stay, will only get better with time.
Government is expected to turn to international investors who want to partake in the country's second Eurobond from next Monday. Joy Business gathers that government will be engaging investors and fund managers in London, Frankfurt, New York, Boston and possibly San Francisco on why they should participate in the bond issuance. Finance Minister Seth Terkper is expected to lead the team together with the governor of the bank and the lead managers of the offer. Government is planning to raise some $1 billion to clear maturing debt and some infrastructure projects. The Shippers Authority says the dwindling volumes of import trade at the nation's port could be a sign that the consumers are gradually reducing their appetite for foreign goods. They say it could also mean the local manufacturing sector is gradually producing quality goods comparable to foreign producers. Recent maritime trade figures released by the Ghana Shippers Authority showed total trade in the first quarter declined 4% compared with the same period for last year. Speaking to Joy Business, Deputy Director General of the authority, Emmanuel Mate, explains that this provides an opportunity for local manufacturing firms to improve their fortunes. Total trade for the period stood at about 4.7 million tons. The Tema port handled over 76% of the total trade, while the Takoradi port handled the remainder. The data showed that total transit cargoes that passed through the two major seaports of the country during the period amounted to a little over 173,000 tons. And that's it for business.
Business was brought to you in association.
Time for the very latest in the world of sports. My name is George Adijuni. Now, The head coach of the national 20 team, Celesteta, says his team is on course to annex the 5th Under-20 World Cup for the second time and insists France cannot be an impediment. The Black Satellites trained for the last time at the Bolsa Convention Center ahead of tomorrow's semi-final clash against France in the ongoing 5th Under-20 World Cup in Turkey. With the team set to miss 3 key players against the French who defeated Ghana early on in the tournament, all attention is on Coach Celesteta's recovery plan, but the anointed one has told Joy Sports he's confident of victory tomorrow.
I keep on saying that this is not a situation where a platform for me to tell you how I have to play, because I have to be cautious trying to bring out my plans and programs. So please, but better still, you see, one thing I love is to play a very beautiful football, entertain people, entertain the fans, let people enjoy the game, and whatever comes out of it, we take it. But better still, my plans and programs that I have for the game is on my chest, and until we reach the fields, you will all see it on the field. Thank you. In Rwanda, we played against Cameroon opening game. We drew. And the final game we played with them, we scored them 2-0. So it's balanced. You know, it covers all platforms. What I'm saying is tomorrow will be a different ball game. Yes, records are there to give it a references. But better still, tomorrow those records and references will not matter.
Right, so our Excellency, or His Excellency, the Bobovich. Now let's do some more. And the Satellites have managed to win more Ghanaian soccer fanatics onto their side following vital wins over USA, Portugal and Chile in the ongoing tournament. But the question still remains, is the team's success so far attributed to the hard work or sheer luck? Some soccer fans who spoke to Joy Sports expressed this in their predictions for the Ghana-France encounter tomorrow.
The way they play against the Chileans, they have a good performance, and the way the Acapito, Lawrence Latte, the way really inspired the guys also. So I think they are going to beat the France 2-0 tomorrow.
They are very good because, as you can see, the way they are playing the game, they are very good. So I wish them good luck, because I know that tomorrow they are going to score 2 goals.
I think they've done so well so far. I think they're one of the best teams in the Under-20 World Cup. So, yeah, I wish them all the best. 3-0, like my friend said, they'll score big time.
Ghanaians were thinking that Chile would take over, but at the end of it, the players did well, and we appreciate that. But we still give them more vim to be keeping on going against Ghana, France, that they should do better for we to go to the finals.
The boys, they really do well. I was disappointed when they started with the game. The way they played, it was too slow. But I've seen that at the last minute, they were doing well, and I say that they should keep the spirit, and then they should play more, and we are winning this cup.
I think it's luck. It's luck on their side, and first of all, we must thank God for that. And moreover, they need to work very hard. You know, playing against France is not easy. We played with them for the first time, and we saw how they were very strong, they were tall, very energetic, more than us. So I think this time around, we need to work and be very united, you know, and we need to work very, very hard towards it.
Right, so obviously it's delicately poised between Ghana and France. It's been topsy-turvy, sometimes bumpy, nervy, but prayers have seemed to reign supreme. So we can continue to say those prayers for the Black Satellites. That'll be all for sports. My name is George Adejuna Gifty. Will join us with Showbiz. You have a good night.
Sports was brought to you in
Okay, we're about to do Showbiz, but quickly let's run you through some of the social platform comment that you've sent in. And the question that we put on our hot issue today is, having heard from both the government and the NPP on the state of the Ghanaian economy, what is your own assessment of the state of the country's economy? And we've had a lot of comments, and I'm going to try and read a few of them very quickly. Let me start with Johnny Kwabena. He says, very bad, and it's true that the nation is sinking. Gabi Donsola says the economy is in shambles. It's a big shame. Very bad economy, to be honest. The nation is sinking, Kojo Boxer says. Now, let me quickly move on. Godwin Kwame Websman says these politicians should be open to the people of this nation and tell us the real state of the economy instead of deceiving us with their big words. They are indeed messing up this country. Samuel Nanakete says, in fact, I don't think NDC is managing the economy well at all. And he asks, too bad. Quickly, let's move on to those of you who sent it quite late. Arnold says, has any opposition praised government in power's economy before? Limited, visionless and self-centered politicians of the land, always begging with golden spoon. So these are just a few of the comments that you brought in, but keep them coming. We will surely read it and bounce them off the politicians that you want to speak to. But coming up next is Showbiz. Please stay. Showbiz today. The only rapper on the Vodafone Icon Street Edition is caught between a rock and a hard place after a rather exciting performance last week at the opening night of the Street Edition show. Buddha, who is a younger brother of the rapper Kwao Kese, has to make a tough decision as to whether to stay in or quit the show.
Buddha displayed his musical prowess last week when he got the audience all falling for him after his exciting performance. Not long after that attention-grabbing performance, Buddha is still catching attention. According to AmialDebra.com, Buddha is signed to Kwao Kese's Mad Time Entertainment label, and according to the rules of Vodafone Icons, contestants should not have any existing contracts with any record label while on the show. This means Buddha would either have to cancel his contract with Mad Time Entertainment or face disqualification from the show. Amial sourced hints that producers of the show are going to have a meeting with Buddha this week to take a final decision on the matter. Showbiz will keep you posted.
Okay. Now, the man known as the godfather of hip live music appears to have outgrown that label. He's now etching his name among the league of men classified as business moguls. From being a musician to owning a nightclub, he has now started manufacturing his own brand of condoms, the Rockstone condoms.
Not long ago, the Hip Life founder Regis Rockstone's office and Grandpapa swept 4 awards during the Accra Nightlife Awards held sometime in March, topping the list of award winners. Grandpapa Reggie Rockstone, after his retirement from music, runs the Rockstone's office and Grandpapa's pub, and whenever he has had the opportunity to talk about his retirement career, he has sounded very excited about his businesses.
Selling booze and watch it can be a future. I sound like Muhammad Ali going in the ring, right? Make our brag.
Well, he's adding the condoms brand Rockstone Condoms to his already successful businesses makes it appear Grandpa.
Okay. So on the note of Rockstone condoms, we end the showbiz. But that's it for tonight. The stories that we've been looking at. Parliament passes amendments to talk time tax, but without controversial clauses requiring subscribers to pay additional levy on inbound international calls and emails. New Patriotic Party delivers its verdict on the state of the economy, describing it as being in tatters. Anti-corruption body Ghana Integrity Initiative charges President Mahama to take pragmatic steps to give the police a better public image after the service was cited for the 4th year in a row as the most corrupt. A student's loan trust records impressive recovery rate amongst beneficiaries. Also, traditional medicine practitioners are out to weed out charlatans, especially those claiming to have the ability to double your money. They say that's not part of their practice. That's all for tonight. My name is Gifty Andopia. Many thanks for your time. Do have a good night.